Hello, friends. Welcome back to Women in Engineering Rise Together, Breaking Barriers in STEM. I'm your host, Abinaya Inbamani, and today we are doing what I like to call a deep exhale episode. Today's episode is a special one. We have our brilliant Bobbie Carlton with us, and I promise you're going to walk away inspired. No matter what season you are in, whether life has felt like a sprint, a steep climb, or an unexpected plot twist, this conversation is your invitation to pause, reflect, and reset with purpose. So many of us move through our days asking, am I resting enough? Am I stretching myself enough? What do I want more or less of moving forward? And how do I create a life and a career that feel aligned, not just busy? To help us explore these questions with clarity and confidence, I'm joined by someone who has helped countless women step into their power. Bobbie. Bobbie is an executive coach, the founder of Innovation Women, a champion for visibility, and a powerhouse voice in helping women become more vocal, more intentional, and more prepared to take up space in boardrooms, on stages, and in their own lives. She has shaped opportunities for women across industries, supported leaders at every level, and built the platforms that opened doors that were once hard to reach. But what I love most about her is how she blends strategy with humanity. Her work reminds us that being seen isn't just about the spotlight moments, it's about claiming our voice, our value, and our direction. I welcome you, Bobby. I'm so glad you are here.
Thank you so
Before
much for
we
having me.
before we dive in, can you introduce yourself in your own words for our listeners? Tell us what you do, what lights you up, and maybe one thing you're proud of that doesn't show up on LinkedIn. A quiet win, a shift, or even a personal moment that meant something to you.
Thanks so much for having me. And hi, everybody. I generally don't consider myself an executive coach, but when I saw that in writing, I said, I should probably own that. My day job is I run a PR and marketing firm. My night job for many years was running a startup event called Innovation Nights. And my dream job is I'm the founder of Innovation Women, which is an online speaker platform. I also engaged in retail therapy during the pandemic, and I bought two additional companies, a research service for professional speakers and a digital magazine for women entrepreneurs. And when you ask what lights me up, it's really helping other women get visible. When I talk about visibility, I say visibility equals opportunity. It's the opportunity for us to tell our stories and to be seen as thought leaders and experts. And that last part of the question, what's something I'm proud of that doesn't show up on LinkedIn? Hmm. I have to admit, I'm very proud of my two kids. So they are something that I'm proud of that I mean, I guess I'm probably linked to them on LinkedIn, but that is not something that I talk a lot about on my LinkedIn profile. Back to you.
That's an inspiring journey. I'm sure your kids would have an amazing mom like you. Let's begin with some honesty and grounding. Life often feels like a swirl of responsibilities, reflection, and pressure to figure things out. I'm sure being a mom, you would know this. What's one practice you recommend for slowing down and finding clarity when everything feels busy or overwhelming?
One of the things that I've done over the years is I've made a habit out of it. Every weekend, there is at least one day, a weekend that I spend off screens. I take the time for myself. I try not to look at work related things. As someone who owns several companies, as you can imagine, my schedule is pretty hectic and I often do feel overwhelmed. But having that one day to recover really helps me a lot.
Thank you for sharing that, Bobby. That's such a grounding way to begin this conversation. You are a champion of visibility, especially for women who look overlooked or unsure about stepping forward. Many women want to show up more fully, whether in meetings, in their business, or even on stage. But visibility can feel challenging when we have been conditioned to stay humble or wait until everything is perfect. What is one bold yet approachable first step a woman can take to start being seen and heard and to claim her expertise with confidence?
Yeah, as you might imagine, I do a lot of speaking myself. I talk to women's groups, I talk to corporate ERGs, and I'm speaking about speaking. One of the things that I suggest when I do these presentations is that we stop thinking so narrowly about public speaking. Often we think about public speaking as something that happens with one person on stage, all alone, with an audience of thousands spread out in front of them. And that can be incredibly intimidating. So, public speaking can take many, many forms. You can be part of a panel, you could be a co presenter, you could be someone who guests on podcasts. Maybe you're the host or the moderator for a panel or the MC at an event. And if you are just getting started and you want to dip your toe in the water, think about this. As someone else is on stage, they are the speaker. They finished their session, they finished their presentation, and often they will ask for questions. This is your opportunity. You can raise your hand, you can stand up, you can introduce yourself, you can give your title, your company name. Maybe you put your brilliant, well thought out question in context, and you have become a public speaker just by asking a question. You are speaking to the exact same audience that the speaker on stage just spoke to. This is a terrific way to get practice speaking in front of an audience. You don't have to apply, you don't have to put together a big presentation. All you need to do is raise your hand.
I appreciate that perspective so much. It's empowering to hear visibility described in such a accessible way. Bobby, in an interview, you mentioned how humor and personal voice matter in storytelling for startups and women in innovation. How can a woman who is especially technical, say a scientist or an engineer, bring more of her full personality, including the humor and vulnerability, into her public presence without feeling like she's not serious enough for the domain?
Oh, this is such a great question. And I do believe that humor and stories are the best way to be remembered. There are some fantastic stats out there in terms of idea retention, but in general, by next week, you will forget 90% of what the presenter tells you this week. Most people will forget fully 50%, half of what a speaker tells them before they leave the room. So we have to think about things that will help us be memorable and help our audience retain the ideas that we're sharing with them from the stage. And humor and stories are how people remember. Now, I will fully admit that younger Bobby was not very comfortable on stage. It takes a lot of practice, it takes a lot of reps before you get comfortable on stage. Don't pressure yourself to be a comedian. You are not doing stand up, you are doing a presentation, you're giving a speech. So start off slow. You don't have to force yourself to be that comedian. You can just be natural, be authentic. People really do want you to succeed. And a lot of time, succeeding really comes from a place of comfort. So don't force yourself to start off thinking that you have to be funny right away. Warm up to it. Don't start off with a joke. Don't start your first time out thinking I have to be funny. You can work up to this stuff and you don't have to start off immediately. That said, go to school on other speakers. Watch the stand up comedians. Go to your streaming platform and watch how they work. It'll definitely help you as you think about your own performances to watch what others are doing, not to copy them, but to get ideas and seek out the stuff that feels authentic to you. You can watch a comedian and say, "I will never do that." Or you might see something, you know, "What? That looks kind of like me. I feel comfortable with that." So look for the things that really feel like you.
That's incredibly encouraging, Bobby. Watching the stand up comedy and concept is really good and we never thought of. I know so many women will feel seen and supported by that. M- Money goals can feel heavy and emotional, especially for women balancing ambition with uncertainty. What mindset shift or daily habit helps transform the financial goals from something stressful into something empowering and doable?
Oh, boy, I feel this so much. As an entrepreneur, I started my first company in 2008 when the market fell off a cliff. The startup that I was working with ran out of money. My husband was the stay-at-home parent, and I can't be, hiding this, but those first few years, I did feel like I was running a little bit at panic speed, always worried about the next bill, worried about how I was going to make a living, feed my family, pay the mortgage. Understanding that that panic and that feeling is normal. Understand that everybody gets nervous. These are the things that I think we don't give ourselves that grace. We give it to others, but we don't give it to ourselves. So the more that you can tell yourself that these feelings are normal, that will give us the clarity of mind to go and set up goals, to set up processes and systems that will help us tackle the problems that are keeping us up at night.
That's such a refreshing take. It makes the whole topic feel lighter and more doable. Next is a very personal question to me. Wellness is often the first very thing women sacrifice, especially those of us leading the teams, raising families, and building big dreams. And on top of that, many women feel an added emotional weight when we compare ourselves to the people who believe men should be the primary providers. That comparison can make us question our choices, our path, and even our own worth. How do you help women integrate wellness into their routines in a way that feels sustainable, not overwhelming, while also staying motivated and grounded when doubt, guilt, or societal expectation starts to creep in? I know it's too much, but please help us, Bobby.
I often feel like I'm the wrong person to ask for this because my husband is I can't even say equal partner. I feel like he shouldered the heavy burden of the house and the kids. He stayed home with our children right from the beginning. Our older son now is 28, our younger son is 23. So my husband stayed home with the kids right from the very start. And at the time we started a family, I was working inside big enterprise software companies. And yup, it was almost a complete role reversal from the expectations I think a lot of people had. I was able to work longer hours. I was able to climb inside a not super friendly to women organization because I had a partner at home that took care of so much. It's an unusual situation. I know that, and sometimes I do wonder how two working parents do it. I do think that if you look for support amongst extended family, amongst friends, amongst your neighbors, just understanding that everybody is struggling with some of the same things, you do get to see kind of a breadth of how other people are handling these challenges. And again, give yourself a little bit of grace, give yourself a little bit of understanding. We are harder on ourselves than we are on anyone else around us.
Thank you, Bobby. That feels reassuring and practical at the same time. Let's talk reflection, not the Instagram version, but the honest one. Imagine someone taking an hour to reflect quietly. What three questions can they ask themselves to get real about what mattered, what changed them, and what they want moving forward?
What three questions can they ask themselves? Getting real. I mean, what was the last thing that you did for yourself? And I know for a lot of women, they have to go back a little bit for that. What was the last thing you did for yourself and nobody else? And I think that's a great thing that we should all ask ourselves on a semi regular basis. And if you can't think of anything that you did just for yourself, set aside that hour and do something. I also really want to encourage people to ask others these questions. Like, what did I do that made you feel happy? Or what was the thing that I did that helped you? And people are often, again, kinder to each other than they are to themselves if they can ask somebody and that other person will answer that question for them. I think it's very reassuring. Looking at big goals, I think big goals are often things that too many people look at a big goal without looking at the steps that will be needed to get them to that goal. So they don't think about the foundation that they have to build. Because I work with so many people who are interested in public speaking, a lot of them come into Innovation Women or they come to me and they say, I want to be a professional speaker. I'm like, okay, let's talk about the foundation that you have built that demonstrates your credibility and your expertise. And then things get very quiet because we do need to think about the steps we'll take to get to our big goals. So don't think of any big goal as something that you're going to accomplish right away. Think about it in terms of the steps you need to take to get you there.
Thank you. I love how simply and honestly you frame that. It's real it really invites a deeper self-awareness among us. Goal setting can feel pressure inside instead of the purpose. So many people set goals that sound good instead of goals that feel good. What common mistakes you see when people set goals? What's a better way to create goals that feel aligned and actually stick?
And I feel like I probably should have just kept that last answer for this question because I do very much feel that all goals should be taken in small steps. Big goals sound good on paper. They sound good when we put them out into the universe. I'm going to write a book, or I'm going to be a professional speaker, or I'm going to own my own business without taking into account the steps that people need to take to get them to that place. So think of every goal as steps along a path, break it down.
You, Bobby. I'd love your perspective on something many women experience but rarely talk about. When a woman with children finally gets a big opportunity in her career, it can be such an exciting moment, but also an emotional one. Even when she asks for help from her spouse, like how it has happened to you, many women still feel torn and overwhelmed and the guilty trying to balance her ambition with families and responsibilities. So what guidance do you have for women navigating this tension so they can stay focused without burning out? Are there any books or resources or any kind of podcast like this you recommend that support the mental health and resilience for the women in these demanding seasons of life?
I feel like I'm the absolute worst person to answer this question on the face of the earth because I have been so lucky in my choice of a life partner. I do have somebody who was very happy to be at home with the kids. He's a great dad, and he was always there for the kids when they needed him. That said, sure, there were days that I came home late and he's dealing with some horrible thing that I've been blithely oblivious to. Um, I can recall at one point I was on a business trip in Japan and my husband was home with our then 9-month-old son. And my husband, as I left, mentioned that he wasn't feeling too great. I'm like, "Oh, no," and I'm going on this business trip, and I'm like, "Well, call your mom, she'll help." Um, but it turns out he got shingles and then gave our son chicken pox. So both of them were sick, and I was in Japan. I felt terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible doing that. And yet there was kind of nothing I could do. I couldn't turn around and head home even if I did by the time I got back. It probably would have been too late to be of much help. So relying on others, we have extended family that's nearby, but also reminding yourself that this is a partnership and each partner is doing the thing that they are good at or that they have taken on as a role. I often talk to people who are in the opposite situation, whether they are the stay at home parent and they're the mom or they are two working parents. And they're like, "How did you do that?" And I'm like, recalling that each moment in time is a moment in time and this too shall pass.
That's going to resonate with so many women. Thank you for offering that compassion and truth. Joy is often missing from our goals. We plan for productivity, not pleasure. How do you encourage women to intentionally build joy, curiosity, and creativity into their plans, not as an afterthought, but as a fuel?
It's funny. I think there's a saying where it's something akin to love what you do and you'll never work a day in your life. I truly enjoy what I do. And I've also built into the work that I do, time to spend with our Innovation Women members. Every week, I host a Zoom call. We call it Speaker Friend Fridays. And it's like the best thing I do all week. I get to talk with our members, we get to help each other out. And it's truly one of those things that I look forward to. I actually showed up one week from vacation, and we have many coaches, many experts on these calls. And That week, there happened to be 2 different burnout coaches, people whose job it is to help people not burn out. And they kind of gave me the stink eye and said, "Hey, what are you doing here? Aren't you on vacation?" And I said, "Yes." Don't fight me on this. I enjoy this so much that I'm doing it from vacation. So I do think that we need to look for roles, look for jobs that are not just work, but that add something back into our souls when we are looking for work in general.
Beautifully said. It's a reminder we all should need from time to time. Bobby, earlier in your career, you noted that the 2008 economic downturn pushed you to start your own business out of necessity. Reflecting on that pivot, what do you wish you had known then, and which of those lessons do you now share with women who are facing their own crisis or reset moment?
You know, it's funny, I never thought about being an entrepreneur until 2008 when I was forced into it, which is totally bizarre because my dad was an entrepreneur pretty much the whole time I was growing up. He was running his own businesses. It literally, though, never occurred to me that I would do this. So, if you're thinking about a career and running your own business, usually you're prepared for it. Maybe I could have, if I had thought about it, taken an accounting course or taken some kind of business course. I did none of that in college. I literally just kind of jumped in and said, "Okay, now I am opening my own business." And it was a very different type of thing from working for somebody else. So, I think if you are always open to learning new things, to greeting each twist and turn of the path that you are on, if you if you accept that you're going to be doing something different and you're not going to know everything that you're going to need to learn, if you're open to learning, I think that is the best thing that you can do in any situation.
Thank you for sharing that so openly, Bobby. It's powerful to hear the lessons behind the journey. We have all had moments that stretched us, a setback, or a situation we didn't feel ready for. What's healthy and empowering way to process these challenging moments so they become catalysts rather than weights?
Hmm. You know, if we are thinking about all the setbacks that we've had in our careers, sometimes they are the catalyst for the things that we are the most proud of. I would have never thought about starting my own business if I hadn't had to. It was a setback. It was a startup that I was so excited for, that I was so proud of, and yet it failed. And it failed, and I grieved for its failure. I was upset. I was incredibly unhappy. I thought it was an incredibly important startup, and yet no longer a thing. So all of that grief and the sense of failure turned into me running my own businesses and helping so many other people. So every setback, every pivot, every situation that I wasn't ready for turned into an opportunity to grow.
That's such a wise and encouraging way to look at those moments. I appreciate that deeply. And finally, the message we all need. If you could leave every woman listening with one guiding reminder as she leads, rests, builds, or reinvents, what would it be?
I would love to see every woman thinking about the ways that they can speak up and be visible, because the opportunities that come from visibility, the opportunities that come from speaking up, they are things that you are never going to get unless you raise your hand, introduce yourself, and showcase your expertise. Show people your competence. Show people that you are confident. And don't wait to feel confident because every time you get a chance to speak up, you are building your confidence.
Thank you so much, Bobby. You have shared so much wisdom with us. To everyone listening, take a breath and celebrate what you have already done, not just what's still waiting for you. As you step into your next chapter, choose goals that feel like you, goals that stretch you, yes, but also sustain you. If this conversation spoke to you, share it with someone who needs it, a friend, a sister, a colleague, or a fellow founder. Let's keep building a life we actually want to live in. Until next time, stay well, stay bold, and keep rising.